All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show. Happy January the 30th as we come at you on a Thursday. We're going to talk a little bit about the Niners. And, of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And they do run out. So get to Pig and a Pickle. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket. Get some brisket chili. Tell them that Krug sent you. And, of course, we're also brought to you by Sharp Corners, Sports Cards and Collectibles, 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, along the Monterey Peninsula. Anthony Catania, give him a call at 831-521-5264. And this live stream is sponsored by Better, the official daily fantasy sponsor of the Krug Show. Use Better to make daily fantasy lineups and win real money. Download the app. Make sure you use the promo code Niners to get your first deposit matched up to $200. Everyone who does automatically is entered into a drawing to win the free signed Freddie or Ricky Pearsall autograph 14 Niner red jersey. We'll give it away on Super Bowl Sunday on our post-game show after Super Bowl 59. All right. Let's talk a little Niners. Let's talk a little draft. Let's hit it right here, the Krug Show. All right, welcome to the Krug Show, Thursday, January the 30th. Hope everybody's having a great day. As I said, we're brought to you by Better, Pig and a Pickle, and Sharp Corners, Sports Cards and Collectibles. And we're going to talk a little bit about the NFL draft, the upcoming NFL draft. Now, it always is, it's interesting to me that, who the 49ers meet with. And you say, well, come on. They meet with a bunch of guys, and it's not really an indication of their interest. And I would say, no, you're wrong. It does mean they're interested. There's just too little time between in the draft season, from the end of the football season to draft day. You don't have time to sit there and do all this misdirection. Well, we'll talk to a bunch of guys we have no interest in, and that will throw people off our scent. Okay. You don't have time to do that. You just don't have time. There's not enough time. You have to get answers to your questions about the prospects that you have questions about. So there really isn't a lot of time. Now, I'm not saying that every guy the 49ers talk to, they're going to draft, because that's not reality. But if you go look at the last couple of years, it's a pretty good indication that there's interest there. As I said, you may not talk to guys that you want to draft, but you're not going to talk to guys that you have no interest in, just to throw people off your scent. You might have questions about each one of these guys. Maybe it's physical, maybe it's character, maybe it's health, maybe it's, maybe the guy walked off the team, maybe he had a fight with a coach, a player, a teammate. Maybe there's a question that you want to get answered. So there's always those things. But I was just looking. So Steph Sanchez, who's one of the Niner content creators, has put up the last few years kind of like an NFL draft, tracker that basically keeps track of every single person the 49ers have met with. And at first, the first thought is, oh, well, come on. How revealing is that really? But I went and looked over the last 2 years. Okay. And it's pretty glaring. So 2023 draft, the 49ers before the draft met with a bunch of players. They met with Jair Brown, drafted him. Shaquille Brown eventually brought him in camp that last summer. Cam Latu drafted him. Darrell Luter Jr. drafted him. Ilm Manning signed him after the draft. Anders Carlson, they signed him this year. Jake Moody, Izzy Abinaconda, they signed this year. Jalen Graham, Braden Willis, D. Winters, Ronnie Bell. That's right. The 49ers probably talked to 75, 80 guys, maybe more, maybe 100 guys at the Hula Bowl and the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl. And, they also can do some virtual meetings with these players. And then some of them you're going to ask to meet and talk to at the Combine. So in 2023, in that draft, the 49ers met with 12 players that they actually brought in at some point over the next year or so. That's a lot. A dozen players? Okay, so maybe it was just 1 year, right? Let's take a look at 2024. So last year, the 49ers, before the draft, met with Evan Anderson. They eventually signed him to a record-setting undrafted free agent contract where they guaranteed him like $380,000 or something like that. They'd never done that before in the Shanahan-Lynch regime. And Anderson rewarded that by playing really well. So they met with Evan Anderson. They have him. They met with Tatum Bethune. They obviously drafted him. They met with Jacob Cowing. They drafted him. They met with Isaac Guerrero. They drafted him. They met with Terrell Owens' son, Tariq Owens. They have him on their roster right now. They met with Ricky Pearsall. They took him in the first round. They met with Mason Pline. They signed him as an undrafted free agent and kept him on their roster, on their practice squad all season long. They met with Malik Mustafa. Obviously, Mustafa was drafted by the Niners as well. They even met with a couple guys in Austin Jones, the former Stanford running back, the former USC running back. I talked to Austin Jones. He was at their local pro day. They ultimately didn't get Austin Jones, but they had him at their local pro day. And they also had Chigozie Anuzium, the Colorado corner, was also at their local pro day. They didn't ultimately wind up drafting him. But just the fact that they brought him in on the local pro day kind of shows that they had some interest, or at least they were taking a look. So last two drafts, the 49ers have 22 players that they either draft or brought to their local pro day, that they drafted or brought in, that they met with before the draft. So it's kind of an indicator of who they're interested in. Doesn't mean that everybody they meet with they're going to draft, as I just said, but it also it's a good indicator that the Niners have interest. I would say they have some interest in every player that they meet with at one point or another. So let's go through. Let's go through and look at the players. Some of the players. Now, she's got a list out. Steph Sanchez does on her Twitter, and you can access it. It's a file that she keeps updating every day, which is pretty cool. And so we're going to go through, a handful of guys that are on this list that the 49ers could have interest in. And we'll start with Jalen Knoll. Jalen Knoll is a wide receiver who plays at Iowa State. Versatile player, 5'10", 200-pound slot receiver. He was the captain of their team. He's got natural hands, short area quickness. They met with him at the Senior Bowl. He runs 4.45 in the 40. He was very productive this year. He had 80 receptions and 8 touchdowns. He had 5 100-yard games. Lit up Miami in the bowl game, 8 catches for 117 in that bowl game. I think it might have been the Sun Bowl. And he was the Big 12 Special Team Player of the Year, voted on by the coaches. Kind of a gadget player, very versatile. He was a high jumper and a sprinter in high school. He's a great athlete. As I said, 5'10", 200 pounds. I'm not sure exactly what the 40 is going to look like, but I think it's going to be in the mid 4.4s. Excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold going today. Just came on yesterday after I went to the gym. So there you go. But Jalen Knoll, the first guy on the list, they met with him at the Senior Bowl, and he's a gadget player. And he could be a guy that they have some interest in. He could be a guy that they bring in. He's a very interesting player for sure. And he's a guy that was a very productive player. Him and Higgins at Iowa State were an incredible combination. So Jalen Knoll, the first one of the players that the Niners have talked to that I could see them bringing in. Another guy that I really, really like, and, I've been talking about this guy since we had Guy Haberman on the show, several months ago, and I asked Guy, give me some college football players. You're calling college ball every Sunday or every Saturday. The game. Who stands out to you? And he's like, Olawafemi Oladejo, which, is a hard name to say. But he started off, played 2 years at Cal, and then transferred and played 2 years at UCLA. Niners met with him at the Senior Bowl. He's 6'3", 255, 260, NorCal guy, Elk Grove up in Sacramento. He's an Elk Grove native, South Sac. Academic, honor roll, smart kid. obviously, smart kid. He went to Cal. Interestingly enough, he played inside linebacker at Cal. He was a middle linebacker at Cal. They moved, UCLA moved him to defensive end this year. And man, he blew up. 13 and a half tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks. Oluwafemi Oladejo really lit it up this week in Indy. And, he's really fun to watch. I'm going to show a clip here. I'm going to share the screen, and we can watch a little bit of Oluwafemi Oladejo being put through his paces at Indy. So here he is down here. Let's see. We'll kill the volume on this, so we just see the audio or just see the video. So here he is doing one-on-ones. And you can just see the athleticism. You can see the quick hands right to the quarterback. Boom, slap those hands down right to the quarterback. Very explosive, showing that now he's rushing inside here, but he's really an edge rusher. But he's a really, really interesting player. Very athletic, very smart, coming into his own. Best football's coming up. Smart kid, athletic kid, really fun to watch. So there's a guy that I really like, Oluwafemi Oladejo. And I expect that he's probably going to be a day 3 guy. And most of these guys are going to be day 3 guys. Going to be a day 3 edge rusher. But, man, a lot to like there. Really a lot to like there. Number 3 on my list is Jacob Parrish, the cornerback from K-State. Niners met with him at the Senior Bowl. He's a 5'10", 200-pound corner who runs 4.49. He had 24 career starts. This kid was a great track star in high school. He won the 100 meters and the 200 meter state titles in high school. This guy can really close on the football. He loves to play man-to-man, very strong against the run, super competitive. As I said, he doesn't have big size, 5'10", 200 pounds. So he's just kind of your run-of-the-mill average corner, but there's toughness there. I think this guy's going to be a good value on day 3 of the draft, and he's looked good in the All-Star process. So Jacob Parrish from K-State, the cornerback, is on my list as well. Another guy that the Niners met with and is a kicker. Niners may be looking for a replacement for Jake Moody. Shocker. Jake had a rough year. Andres Borregales, the place kicker from Miami, the Niners met with him at the East-West Shrine practices this week. Borregales was 18 of 19 this year for the Canes. He hit 7 of 8 from 40-plus yards. Another guy they may have some interest in bringing in, possibly with a day 3 draft choice. One of my favorite guys on this list and in this video is the next guy I want to talk about, and that's Carson Bruner. And if you say, man, Carson Bruner, why do I know that name? Bruner. That seems so familiar. That's a very familiar name. Why do I know the name Carson Bruner? Well, because his daddy was Mark Bruner, who was a great tight end at the University of Washington. And Carson has followed in his dad's footsteps. He played at UW. Niners met with him at the Shrine Bowl. This guy's a hell of a player. Now, I don't know if he's a how great of an athlete he is. He might be a little bit on the more of a backup projection. I think what he would be right away is a great special teamer. He's a terrific coverage linebacker. He gets his hands on a lot of football. He gets a lot of footballs. He gets deep drops. He keeps his eyes on the quarterback, and he gets his hands on a lot of footballs. And he's been great against the best teams. He had 11 tackles against Louisville in the Sun Bowl. He had 104 tackles on the year this year, a forced fumble and 3 interceptions. But he did his best work against the best teams. He had 11 tackles against Penn State. He had 12 against SC. He had 11 against Indiana. Carson Bruner, 6'1", 2.25, really solid football player. I'm going to share the screen, and you can see the video that he put out of himself. And it's a pretty good one. This is on Bruner at Bruner Carson on X. Here he is with a little video thanking the fans at Washington.
Wait, I probably meant with a brick cause. I probably meant with a brick cause. I'm in a five.
Hold on. There we go. Drop the audio. Okay, here we go. So here he is, Carson Bruner. And as you'll see in the video, the guy plays 1,000,000 miles an hour, and he's a really good coverage player. Now, he's a borderline NFL athlete. As far as this is not, he's not a superstar athlete, but he's so damn productive. And this guy lives to play football. I mean, this guy wants to play. Big time player, very productive, special teamer. Look at that, going over the top. I mean, this is a really good forcing the fumble against Tyler Warren. Carson Bruner would be a really good 5th or 6th linebacker, special teamer. He would be a great special teamer. And I think there's even upside potential if he, sometimes these guys get in an NFL, nutritionist and a weight room, and all of a sudden they actually find more athleticism at the pro level than they do at the college level sometimes. This guy has a number of big hits. I mean, this is a guy who really loves to start you. But what I love about him is he's got a great nose for the football in the pass game. The NFL is a pass game, and you gotta have guys who can play pass coverage, and this guy can. You got to have guys that understand how to get their hands on the football in the pass game, and this guy does. And he's a smart player. The motor's always revving, and he's just a tremendous talent. So Carson Bruner is a guy that I'm a big fan of, and I think that he's another day 3 linebacker. As I said, 6'1", 225, but the production's off the charts. And as far as you're looking for a backup, you're looking for somebody to replace, give you some depth at linebacker with the potential to maybe start. I think Carson Bruner would be a really nice day three pick. So there you go. He's on my list. Another guy on my list is Gerald Mincey, who's an gigantic offensive tackle who the Niners met with at the Tropical Bowl, which I didn't even know existed. They call him G1. He's just a monster. 6'6", 335, 39 career games. He's a grad student. He's already graduated with his degree. Started at Florida, moved on to Tennessee, eventually transferred and finished up at Kentucky. Only allowed 2 sacks all year, and he's just big as a house, but he's got great strength, great length, good feet. I think Gerald Mincey could be a really nice day 3 pick as well. If you're looking for that, that developmental tackle, he might be a really good option. Another guy is Trayshawn Ward, the running back from Boston College, who the Niners met with at the Tropical Bowl. Another guy played 1 year at K-State, then he played 3 years for the Seminoles in Florida State, and then finished up at Boston College. It's hilarious now. It used to be the rarity that guys transferred. Now everybody's transferred, and a lot of them have transferred more than once. But this guy is a good back. He's small, 5'3" a carry, though, this year. Really low mileage. He hasn't been used that heavily. He never really was the every down guy. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's more of a undrafted free agent, invite him to camp, but he could surprise people this summer in training camp. Trayshawn Ward, Boston College running back, really like him. Another guy that I think you definitely got to take a look at, the Niners got to look at everybody who can rush the passer. And Steve Linton from Baylor, the Niners met with him at the Hula Bowl. He's a Dublin, Georgia kid, 6'5", about 240 pounds, 3 sacks this year. Another guy, three schools. Started at Syracuse, then went to Texas Tech, and then finished up at Baylor. But, very raw, but the length, the athleticism, the raw talent, the motor revs hot. This guy plays hard. He's going to run in the low 4.6s, I think. He's probably going to be a pretty good day 3 draft choice. I really like Steve Linton. And when I watched him a couple times, in the last few weeks, his film looks good. He really does. I'm going to share the screen, and you guys can see what he looks like. Pretty good player, really a pretty good player, and I like him. To me, this is a guy who is a developmental day 3 edge rusher. Here you see him against Oregon. And here we go. Or maybe this is against Baylor. Let's see. So he comes off the edge there, and he just absolutely just goes right by the tight end. The tackle could not get out. And there he is, exploding to the quarterback. This is a brief highlight, but, man, you can see the speed off the edge and the long arms, great athleticism. So, Steve Linton, A guy definitely to keep your eye on. And a guy who, has had production, good production, but he's raw. He's raw. And he definitely is a guy that is going to need to be coached up. This is where Chris Kasarik is going to earn his money, coaching up a guy like this. And he's really, really talented. 6'3" in the 230 range, 250 range, in that, 6'3", 6'4", 235, 240 in that range. He's trying to put on more weight, 34.5-inch arms. He's had games where he's had 3 sacks. He's had games where he's had multiple forced fumbles. In this particular game, in the game that we just watched there, that one clip, he had 3 sacks and 2 forced fumbles, and he only played 17 snaps. So he's a high-ceiling guy. He's got a combo of length and athleticism and is really, really intriguing. And Linton is also going to be a day 3 selection. And I think he's going to be a guy that is probably going to be better as a pro than he even was at Baylor. Okay, another guy that I really love, and a couple guys on the end of this list are some burners. 49ers understand that they need to find some special team speed and some overall speed. And they took a look, or they met with this kid, Shunderick Powell, who played at Central Arkansas. And I'm going to share the screen. You can watch this kid as well. This is a super athletic return man, and he's just really intriguing. Let's see. We'll rewind it there so you guys can see it from the beginning. Here he is on a running play. He's a running back. He's a return man. He's probably a flexed out receiver if you wanted to use him that way. Shunderick Powell. Here he is. So look at that speed. He just kind of runs away from everybody. And if you Google him too, you're going to see lots of big time highlights. Shunderick Powell, really good football player, Central Arkansas, and this is a guy that I've liked for a couple months. He's from Hoxie, Arkansas. He's 5'9", 180 pounds. Started at Northern Alabama and transferred. He was an all-state high school player, 41-inch vert, ran for over 1,000 yards this year. 4.38 speed. This is an incredible athlete. This guy's got strength and size and speed. 4.38, but he squats 600 pounds. He power cleans 335. He's got great athleticism and strength in his legs. He can break tackles. He's a home run hitter. He's a return guy. Big play return guy. And a guy who's probably going to be either undrafted or a late day 3 guy. Shunderick Powell, great name too. Central Arkansas, by way of Northern Alabama. Really, really good player. Another guy that I really like, who's also in that same kind of mold, is a guy from Eastern Carolina, and East Carolina is kind of an underrated program. The Pirates, the ECU Pirates, and Winston Wright Jr. And he's definitely one of the more slept-on prospects this year. Now, one NFL scout, according to this tweet that I'm looking at, believes that Winston Wright Jr. will be a Deebo Samuel type player once he's in the league. That he's one of the fastest prospects in the draft, and he's a big time player. He's hit speeds of nearly 22 miles per hour. One NFL scout also reportedly believes that Winston Wright Jr. could enter the league and be a top 5 kick returner. ECU Pirates, and major potential. So let me share the screen and you guys can take a look at this guy. This guy's another home run hitter. Big time speed, day 3 pick. Here he is, and we'll get it back to the start and you guys can see it. Here he is. And as you can see him, he just runs right by that guy. Great speed. Difference-making speed. And he's gone. And so, these are the Niners could really use some impact speed. Whether it be off the bench, whether it be on special teams, some combination thereof. That's a great catch. Really nice catch. Here he is on a return. And he hits the seam, gets to the sideline. Bye-bye. Oh, this guy's going to run him down. Oh, and he does. Whew. Nice speed there. But definitely, here we go. If he's even, he's leaving, and he's got 6 right there. And now he's going up top in the middle of the field. Plucked that with his hands, didn't body catch it, all kinds of separation. Split. Incredible talent, a lot of speed, really exciting prospect. And a guy who, once again, Winston Wright Jr., kick returner, is from Savannah, Georgia, runs in the low 4.4s. This guy also, he started at Florida State and then transferred. He's a grad student, and he's a home run hitter. And, late day 3, you're looking for a difference maker on special teams. After the draft, you're looking for a difference maker on special teams. Winston Wright, wide receiver from East Carolina, home run hitter. All right, next guy on the list is Seth Coleman, defensive end from Illinois, 6'5", 250. Really a good football player. They're saying round 5. I think he's probably going to go, late round 5. 53 tackles this year, 3 sacks. Just one of the best players on a really underrated Illini team. The Illini had a good year, and they've really kind of had a bounce back year, and they had a number of really good performances. Seth Coleman, I'm going to share the screen on this one, and you can see him kind of flying off the edge. Now, the highlight I'm going to show you is, the tackle gets left in his stance. So it's not the greatest highlight of all time but I was looking for more and I couldn't find him right before the show here. So here you go. Here we go. We'll roll the tape here and you can see this guy coming off the edge. He's on the right side. Boom. Hits the quarterback. Really good player. I mean, really, really good player. Illinois, as I said, very underrated, bounce back year, and Seth Coleman was one of their leaders on defense. 6'5", 250, but projectable. The kind of guy that maybe, could be about 6'5", 265 in a year or so. And he's like one of the leaders on their team. He's really hardworking, conscientious football player, great athlete, one of the best players on their team all year. I really like him, and I think he's another guy who's probably gonna be, a day 3 guy, Seth Coleman, day 3, maybe even late day 3. So he's definitely a guy to keep your eyes on. I got 3 more names on my list. Okay, let's go to Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Now this guy's kind of maybe has the most interesting story of anybody. He started at Alabama State. Then he played at New Mexico. Now he's at University of Arizona. He's out of eligibility, but is he? Now I think he's going to be in the draft, but I'm not 100% sure. There's a lot of talk that, you're never going to believe this, but if you go and watch this guy on YouTube, he supposedly, when he was at Alabama State, played like a game in the season or 2. And then the equipment managers gave his number to somebody else. And I don't know if it's just because it was a tiny program, Alabama State. It wasn't University of Alabama or some SEC program. But they had him down for a full season, even though he technically redshirted this year. And if you look at his ESPN stats, there's like 2019 stats that are attributable to Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt that aren't his stats, that are somebody else's stats. So some people are arguing that he has another year of eligibility left and he's coming back to Arizona for another year. Either way, if this guy's in the draft, you want this guy. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, 5'11", 208 pounds, averaged 8.2 yards per carry this year. He had 17 touchdowns a year ago. 40-inch vert, home run hitter, explosive runner. Just really an exciting player. I mean, a very, very good player. And Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. And I think he's probably going to be a day 3 guy, but wait until you see this guy run away from the rest of the defenders in this video that we're going to show you from Twitter. Okay, so let's pause that, and we'll grow this so you can see the whole thing. And you'll see this guy just he's the running back. He's in a deep eye right now, and he's just going to bust right up the gut and be gone. Here it is. Hand it to him. One cut. and he's gone right down the middle. Nobody lays a finger on him. Here's another run, little sidestep, gets to the sideline, twist, and I think he got in there. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. And good cutting, but really the difference maker is the speed. Guy's got tremendous speed. And if he can get to that second level, he's a lot of times he's gone. And you're talking about another guy, undrafted player, late day 3. And that's if he doesn't go back to Arizona. As I said, there's some debate over his eligibility, and he may be headed back to play for the Wildcats for another year. But if he's in this draft, he fits the Niners scheme. And, he's definitely an outside zone runner. I think he's a guy. Now, you're seeing him run inside here, but he's got the speed to get to the edge. And really, really fun to watch. So Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, he was one of the stars of the week during the All-Star game. So, as I said, 8.2 yards per carry, 40-inch vert, probably 4.3 speed, huge production the last 2 years. Explosive player, 17 touchdowns last year, about 210 pounds on a 5'11 frame. Last couple guys I'm going to go to. One is my favorite on this list, and that's B.J. Green, who played for Dion in Colorado. B.J. Green is a short defensive end, and what we'll do is we'll share the screen. I'll show you his highlight reel. And this is a video I think that he himself might have put out, and he's a short, powerful, 260-pound rock of granite coming off the edge. He doesn't have that length that you like in the edge rusher. He's more of like a Hugh Douglas or somebody like that. He's shorter, but the power, the motor, the production, the athleticism, the toughness, it's all there. Here's B.J. Green from Colorado. A little video of him, and I mean, that right there is a great highlight of him. He'll get parallel to the line to the ground when he's dipping his shoulder, when he's trying to beat a tackle. I mean, he's just super athletic. 6 feet 260, and he just doesn't give you a lot of surface area to block. The motor's phenomenal. He comes flying off the edge. You can see the strength and the power in his upper body. B.J. Green, hell of a player for Prime at Colorado. I mean, this guy is really good. Really good football player. He was a walk-on at ASU, if you can believe that. He was a walk-on. Walked on at ASU, and everything kind of, stemmed from there. He's an Atlanta kid. He was the Big Ten Defensive Newcomer of the Year. He was first team all Big Ten this year. He's incredibly durable. He's about 6 feet, 6'1". They list him at 6'1". He's probably closer to 6 feet. They list him at anywhere between 265 and 270. But 33 tackles this year, 7.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, had a fumble recovery. I mean, when you see a guy go from walk-on to draftable player, that's a great distance, man. I got nothing but respect for those guys. Nothing was handed to B.J. Green. He walked on at ASU and then found his way to Colorado. And what a year he had. I mean, just a force off the edge. And this guy's a bulldozer, too. He's really strong upper body. The motor and the durability, too. I mean, he's just a rock, and you just can't block him. I've seen guys try to block him. He overpowers them. He'll dip the shoulder and go by them. He doesn't have a huge, super developed array of moves and counter moves. He needs to be coached up. But in the Niners wide 9, get up the field, wreak havoc, play the run on the way to the quarterback. I mean, I think B.J. Green could be incredible, absolutely incredible, playing for Chris Kasarik. So, and then the last guy on the list is an interesting guy as well, and that is the University of Minnesota player Danny Strigow, a defensive end. And this guy, it's you hear these stories sometimes. So he was supposed to be not invited to I think the Senior Bowl, and somebody canceled, somebody got hurt, whatever. They called him in the 11th hour, the night before. The guy hopped like 3 different planes, all kinds of, planes, trains, and automobiles just to get there, showing everybody how bad he wanted it. And then he stood out in the practices. Strigow is his name. University of Minnesota. And he's an interesting player, a really interesting player. And just a guy with a motor, and you can see he's projectable. He doesn't have crazy athleticism or crazy length, but he looks like the kind of guy that's just coming into his own. The motor is running at all times. The guy loves to play football. He's good against the run. He's constantly just constant motion. Love him. Absolutely love him. And he's going to be a day 3 guy. He's a high energy, high effort, day 3, try hard guy. 54 or a good year this year for University of Minnesota. I don't have his numbers in front of me, but just watching him play and seeing him work to the quarterback. I mean, the guy really keeps coming. He's got limits. There's limits to his athleticism, but this is a try-hard guy. This is a guy who's going to show up and bring a lunch pail and work all day. So I don't know if he's even an NFL edge rusher, if he's just kind of a special teamer, but he's got the kind of motor that you would love to have in your camp this summer. And one guy who they did not meet with, but I'm just going to throw him on the list because I tweeted about him earlier today. He's now become my new favorite player in the draft. The Niners have yet to meet with him, though I hope they will. And I'm going to show the screen on this one as well. This is a player who's really intriguing. His name is Willie Lampkin. And you guys probably caught Willie Lampkin. He's a center / guard / fullback, maybe. He was a championship high school wrestler, like 47-0 or something like that. Then he goes to Mobile this week, and he just dominated some of the bigger. Deion Walker? Is that this guy's name for Kentucky? Dominated him. We're going to show you that. He dominated these guys all week. Now, my buddy who I used to scout with in the Canadian League, the great Rick Mueller, who's Randy Mueller's little brother, NFL personnel guy for years. He's now the recruiting coordinator at Coastal Carolina. Well, Rick recruited this guy, Willie Lampkin, to Coastal. And he played great for Coastal. He eventually transferred to North Carolina, and he's just a nasty destroyer in the run game. And I tweeted at Lynch today. I'm like, I hope John Lynch loves this guy as much as I do, because, I mean, this guy can help the Niners in the low red zone. Get this guy on day 3. This guy could be – now, he's 5 – I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think he's – some measurements list him at 6 feet. PFF says he's 5'10", 270. 5'10" is a small – that's a small player. But at center, I don't mind a small player. I don't mind a short center. Niners brought in Jason Poe a couple years ago, and, he was intriguing. This guy's way, way better than Jason Poe. I kind of look at Willie Lampkin as maybe he could be your starting center. Maybe he could be your replacement for Juice as a fullback. This guy is a culture player. I mean, the Niners have to get this player. I'm going to show you the screen. You're going to love this, the highlights of this guy. He's unbelievable. Now, as I said, this is a video about guys they've met with, and they've yet to meet with Willie Lampkin. So this guy does not qualify as somebody they've met with. But here is a video from PFF on him.
We got to talk about the biggest underdog.
Here we go. And you can hear this guy talk about him. Let's see. There we go. We'll rewind it.
We got to talk about the biggest underdog here at the Reese's Senior Bowl, and that is North Carolina interior offensive lineman Willie Lampkin. Now, he was a dominant player for the Tar Heels this past season. He is the highest graded power forward guard, highest pass blocking grade, and the second highest run blocking grade in the power 4. But he's 5'10", 270 pounds. He's 3 inches shorter than any offensive lineman that we've seen, and he's the second lightest offensive lineman ever. He did not let those measurables keep him from dominating here, though, at the Senior Bowl, holding up against some of the best D tackles in the draft, like Deion Walker and Walter Nolan. Walker in particular, 9 inches taller, 70 pounds heavier than Willie Lampkin. Lampkin is backing up the PFF grades here at the Senior Bowl, and he's showing that even though he's a massive outlier with his size, he still deserves a place on this field.
I mean, that right there, this highlight, and I forget who this is. I was watching the practices yesterday and earlier this week, and I forget who exactly this is, but he just throws this guy down like it was nothing. I mean, look at this rep. This is a crazy rep from Willie Lampkin. He's going one-on-one. He just throws this guy right down and just was like, thanks for coming. Here it is. Oh, yeah. He just bounced him off the ground and then stepped over him. And then came back and was like, hey, maybe I'll shake your hand. That's awesome. Just absolutely eviscerate a guy. Just take his manhood right there and then step over him and then come back and be like, hey, bro, let me dap you up. That's classic. But this kid is amazing. Willie Lampkin, Invader 49er. I wouldn't draft him. Oh, man. He's short, but, I mean, when you see a guy this strong and this dominant as a wrestler, that means he understands leverage. Man, I think he would be a really good center. I think he would be a very intriguing backup offensive lineman. He might be an awesome fullback. Awesome fullback. We got this one from Jim Thorokill. Larry, what's your thoughts on Cam Scatterbo? He's a Niner fan. I loved him against Texas in the ASU-Texas college football playoff game where he threw a touchdown pass. Now, he's I don't know if he's an NFL running back. He looks like more of a fullback. He's not really a burner per se, but you know what? He's such a great football player in across the board. I'd absolutely want him. Now, it's all about what round. I'd like a guy like Cam Scatterbo on like the beginning of day 3, like, fourth round. A lot of the things I'm looking at say he's going to go in the 3rd round. I don't want him in the 3rd round. There's better players in the 3rd round. You might be able to get, starting defensive or offensive tackles in the 3rd round. But I do like him. I don't see a superstar, but I see a guy that could easily replace Juszczyk and probably be an upgrade. And a guy who's a really smart, heady football player, a winner, special team monster. Yeah, I love Cam Scatterbo. I mean, it's a phenomenal. This might be the best running back draft I can ever remember. I mean, this is a phenomenal running back draft. T-Dub in the house says, we need Arian Smith, the Georgia wide receiver, is going to run the 4.2s. He's impressed at the Senior Bowl. Yeah, it's funny that T-Dub that you mentioned Arian Smith because he does stand out. And I looked at him a little bit last night, and I was thinking to myself the exact same thing. What is this guy going to run? Because he lacks a little strength, but man, the speed and the athleticism. Georgia gets a few guys every year that are just freaky athletic, and Arian Smith is in that category. There's a lot of good players there. I mean, when the money was on the table, did they go to Arian Smith? Well, sometimes they did. Sometimes they went to Dylan Bell. Sometimes they went to Urasek. Sometimes they went to Etienne. I mean, they spread the ball around there. But this guy is going to be a hero at the combine. And if he does run in the 4.2s, absolutely, I'd be interested in him because I think if you say what do the Niners really need at wide receiver? They need the complementary part that's the burner. They need their Tutu Atwell. They need somebody who's going to run by people. They don't scare anybody. They're way, 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 way too slow on both sides of the ball, but especially on the perimeter, at corner and wide receiver. Too slow, way too slow. Cowing can run pretty well. Garendo can run pretty well. Other than that, Niners have relatively slow weapons outside of CMC when he's fully healthy. So, yeah, you could add a 4.2 burner like Arian Smith, and if he does run 4.2, that would be a guy. That would be a guy who I'd be interested in. Invader 49er says, Larry, I thought Garendo was a fullback. I mean, first of all, we can debate this all we want. he has no running back instincts. How many times do you need to see Guerrero run up the back of an offensive lineman and fumble before you'll believe me when I say he doesn't have running back instincts? Is he a Niner running back? Yeah, he's a running back, but he doesn't have any instincts. He runs upright. He takes hits. He picks the wrong hole. He doesn't read the right hole, but he's improving. He got better as the season went on, but he's more of an athlete. He's an athlete who's big, strong, fast, who's a little bit of a mismatch. But he's not really he's not a bell cow back. The guy has one college start. Don't listen to me. Listen to his college coaches. Did they start him in college despite the fact he was 225 pounds and ran 4.3? No, they didn't. So why didn't they? Because he doesn't really have running back instincts. And I don't know that you can coach that either. I mean, you can improve them, but I don't know you can coach it. So I like Guerrero, but he is what he is. He's a phenomenal receiving option out of the backfield. He's a change of pace. He's either a running back in the flat. He's a special teamer. He's a fullback. He's an H-back. He's a tight end. He was a high school wide receiver who has great speed, is built like a running back, but runs upright. I mean, doesn't have pick and slide. Can't really read his blocks. So he had a lot of disappointing moments. He had some amazing moments, right? He had some moments where like, whoa, look at that guy. This guy's explosive. Get him the ball. But then you're like, oh, last play he just ran up the back of his, on a kick return, he ran up the back of his lineman and fumbled. So he's not dependable. He is intriguing. I think he would be a phenomenal, jack of all trades guy, but he'll never be anybody's number one running back. Or if he is, they're not going to be good. Because he just doesn't have that feel. He doesn't have the feel for the position. The position is almost all about feel, and it's a natural, instinctive position. He's an incredible athlete. He doesn't have that feel. And that's just my opinion. I asked Shanahan, I said, what is he? Is he a running back? Is he a fullback? He's like, he's a running back. But he isn't really a running back because he can't really, the Niners run the outside zone. The outside zone is, you run parallel to the line of scrimmage, and then you put your foot in the ground when you see the hole, and you cut it upfield. Well, he doesn't do that. So, I mean, he doesn't do that with any consistency. So I like him. I really like him as just an athlete and as a special teamer, as a backup. But as I said, he's not anybody's starting running back. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before. Here we go. We got this one from Barry Ford. Hey, bro, just checking in, enjoying the show. I love BJ Green as well. Hell of an edge guy. Dion was a decent recruiter. Yeah. Dion was a very good recruiter. That's a good call. Jeturnus is draft the defensive end out of O'Dowd from the East Bay, Grantavious Cone. That's awesome. EMA beats Efton Chisholm out of Eastern Washington, wide receiver, Cooper Kupp 2.0, Larry. I've studied him a little bit. He's definitely productive, very, very quick, very, very productive player. I don't see Cooper Kupp. I see a faster player than Cooper Kupp, but I don't see the same kinds of ball skills as Cooper Kupp. Invader 49 says, Larry needs a vitamin C drink. Yeah, no, I went to the gym yesterday, and, usually I come right home, take a shower after I go to the gym. I did some extra lifting with my weights in the garage, and it got a little cold, and then all of a sudden, I probably waited a half hour, and I got a little cold overnight. So there you go. I'm trying to shake it. But there you go. Anyway, that's going to do it for our video. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Better for sponsoring this video. Thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles as well for being a proud sponsor. And thanks to all of you guys. Check me out tonight for Niners Nightly. JD's going to be my guest. I'll be on from 6 to 7. We'll talk about the latest on the Brock Purdy contract. Some very interesting stuff coming out from Tim Kawakami today on X about Brock Purdy and how the Niners look at that contract. So we'll get into that a little bit tonight. We'll talk a little bit with JD, and really looking forward to it. So join us tonight at 6 o'clock on The Sports Leader. And that does it for us for the rest of the day. I think I'm going to hit the gym and throw some weights around. I gotta get in shape for my spring training trip. Thanks to everybody for supporting the Krug Show. Have a great day. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you